These cities used to be the largest in the world, from the ancient city of Babylon to the breathtaking city of Palmyra. Join me, I'm counting down 15 of the biggest ancient cities. Number 15. Thebes. The ancient city of Thebes, located in central Greece, stands as a remarkable city of the ancient world. Its influence and power extended through the millennia, leaving an indelible mark on Greek history, mythology, and culture. Thebes was not only one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world, but also one of the most fascinating. Thebes, according to Greek mythology, was founded by the hero Cadmus. A legend tells of his journey to establish the city after slaying a dragon. In an unusual twist, Cadmus sowed the dragon's teeth into the ground, and from them sprang the Spartoi, fierce warriors who fought one another until only 5 remained. These survivors became the ancestors of Thebes' aristocracy, and the city's ancient citadel, the Cadmea, was named after Cadmus. Throughout Greek history, Thebes was a dominant force in the region, leading to a Boeotian confederacy and rising as a formidable rival to Athens. The city's role in the Persian Wars is notable too. Thebes controversially sided with the Persians during Xerxes I's invasion in 480 BC. However, it was in the Peloponnesian War and the years following that Thebes truly demonstrated its military might. Thebes' army, particularly the famed Sacred Band of Thebes, defeated the Spartans at the Battle of Leuctra in 371 BC, ending centuries of Spartan dominance. Well, despite its victories, Thebes' fortunes changed with the rise of Macedonia. In 338 BC, Thebes, alongside Athens, was defeated by Philip II of Macedon at the Battle of Chaeronea. This marked the end of Theban independence, and only a few decades later, Alexander the Great razed the city in 335 BC, bringing an end to its era of dominance. Number 14. Babylon. Babylon, it's one of the most iconic cities of the ancient world. It was a metropolis that continues to capture our imaginations today. Along the banks of the Euphrates River, Babylon rose to legendary status, becoming synonymous with grandeur and power. Today, the ruins of this once great metropolis lie near the town of Al-Hala in modern-day Iraq. Now, Babylon's most celebrated era began in 612 BCE, when the city led a coalition to overthrow the oppressive Assyrian Empire. Now, this marked the start of the Golden Age for Babylon, a period that reached its pinnacle under the reign of Nebuchadnezzar II. Known as the city's greatest architect, Nebuchadnezzar transformed Babylon into a sprawling metropolis that stretched across 3 square miles, all encircled by monumental walls. The crown jewel was the Ishtar Gate, constructed by Nebuchadnezzar. This grand portal made of vivid blue glazed tiles adorned with depictions of lions, dragons, and bulls helped to make the city known for artistic achievements. It was perhaps the greatest city in the world at the time, and if those walls could talk. But among Babylon's most enduring legends is the Hanging Gardens, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Although its existence has been debated by historians, the gardens are believed to have been built during Nebuchadnezzar's reign. Another iconic structure here too in Babylon was its central ziggurat, a towering temple dedicated to the city's patron god, Marduk. This structure is thought to have inspired the biblical story of the Tower of Babel. Number 13. Uruk. Uruk, today known as Warka, is one of the most powerful and influential cities of the ancient world. It was situated near a now dry channel on the Euphrates River in modern-day Iraq. It played a role in shaping a course of human civilization. As one of the first true cities, Uruk left a profound legacy on urbanization, state formation, and culture during the 4th millennium BCE. Uruk's prominence emerged during a transformative era from about 4000 to 3200 BCE. It was a time of unprecedented urban growth where small agricultural villages in southern Mesopotamia evolved into complex, bustling cities. While other settlements grew modestly, Uruk spanned over 250 hectares, dwarfing its contemporaries. Now, the shift was not just physical, because Uruk became the heart of a stratified society with full-time bureaucracies, organized military forces, and administrative systems that support large-scale governance, which was almost unheard of at the time. One of the iconic structures here, the Anu Ziggurat, served as a center of religious worship and authority dedicated to the sky god Anu. Of course, beyond its architectural administrative achievements, Uruk gained mythical fame as the home of Gilgamesh, the hero of the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest and most celebrated works of literature. In this epic, Gilgamesh is said to have built the city's monumental walls, and while the tale is shrouded in legend, there is some truth to this story. Archaeologists have uncovered some parts of these ancient walls. The Epic of Gilgamesh itself is more than just a tale of heroism. It serves as a foundational work for the tradition of heroic sagas, with Gilgamesh becoming a prototype for later mythological figures like Heracles. The epic, which has been translated into countless languages and continues to inspire modern fiction, it explores universal themes such as mortality, friendship, and the quest for meaning, all set against a backdrop of an ancient Uruk. Number 12. Angkor. Angkor, known today as one of the greatest archaeological sites in the world, was the capital city of the Khmer Empire and flourished from the 9th century to the 15th century. It's located in present-day Cambodia near the modern city of Siem Reap. Angkor was not just a religious center, but a sprawling metropolis that served as the political, cultural, and economic heart of Southeast Asia. The city itself is most famous for its temples, particularly Angkor Wat, the world's largest religious monument. Originally, it was dedicated to the Hindu god Vishnu and later converted to a Buddhist temple. Angkor Wat remains one of the most iconic and visited sites in the world. Angkor was built not only as a religious center, but also as a thriving metropolis sprawling over an area comparable to that of modern-day Los Angeles. The city's infrastructure included a complex irrigation system that controlled the flow of water from the nearby Tonle Sap Lake, allowing the Khmer people to cultivate rice on a massive scale. Paved roads connected Angkor to other parts of the empire, while bridges, canals, and reservoirs ensured that the city's prosperity, even during periods of drought, happened. Despite its magnificence, though, Angkor fell into decline around the 15th century for reasons that do remain unclear. One popular theory suggests that changes in the region's climate, combined with the failure of Angkor's extensive irrigation systems, led to crop failures and a breakdown in the city's infrastructure. Without the ability to support its massive population, Angkor gradually declined, and its temples were abandoned to the jungle. Number 11. Carthage. Carthage, one of the wealthiest and most powerful cities of the ancient world, was a major hub of trade and maritime strength in the Mediterranean. Founded in 814 BCE by Phoenician sailors, likely from the city of Tyre in modern-day Lebanon, Carthage grew into a vast metropolis, leading the maritime empire that spanned North Africa, Sicily, Spain, and even beyond. Carthage's wealth flowed in from all directions. The city's merchants dealt in luxury goods such as ivory, ebony, and gold, as well as more commonplace items like salt, spices, and furs. The famous Phoenician purple dye made from murex seashells was one of its most prized exports, a luxury that was in demand across the ancient world. Carthage was equipped with two major harbors, the outer harbor, dedicated to merchant vessels, and the inner circular harbor, which housed the city's formidable navy. That inner harbor was a marvel of engineering, capable of docking up to 220 warships, each housed in its own berth. The citadel of Birsa Hill, which overlooked the city, also housed an immense fortress that symbolized Carthage's military strength. Below it, the city's residential neighborhood stretched out, offering a view of a bustling, wealthy metropolis, and Carthage's influence and control over the western Mediterranean were unrivaled for centuries. But it eventually faced its greatest challenge, the rise of Rome. Carthage's clashes with Rome, known as the Punic Wars, would become one of the most famous rivalries of the ancient world. Over the course of more than a century, Carthage and Rome fought three brutal wars that culminated in the city's destruction. Carthage's most famous general, Hannibal Barca, became a legend for his audacious military campaigns, particularly his daring crossing of the Alps to invade Italy. His victories over Roman forces were remarkable, and his strategies are still studied in military academies today. Yet despite Hannibal's brilliance, Carthage would ultimately not withstand Rome's relentless power. Number 10. Alexandria. Alexandria, founded by none other than Alexander the Great in 331 BCE, was one of the most influential cities of the ancient world. Located on the Mediterranean Sea in northern Egypt, Alexandria rose from the small port of Rakotis to becoming a sprawling metropolis. Its legendary status was cemented by the presence of Pharaoh's Lighthouse, one of the seven wonders of the ancient world, and the renowned Library of Alexandria, which made the city a hub of knowledge and learning that even rivaled Athens. When Alexander the Great arrived in Egypt during his campaign to conquer Persia, he quickly recognized the strategic importance of the region's Mediterranean coast. After securing Egypt, he laid out the plans for Alexandria, designing the city with grand ambition. Though Alexander himself left to continue his conquests, the Ptolemies, who succeeded him, realized his vision. The city's design incorporated wide avenues, grand public buildings, and a vast harbor that connected Alexandria to trade routes across the Med. The lighthouse, known as the Pharos of Alexandria, became an iconic symbol of the city, which guiding ships safely into its harbors. The Library of Alexandria was more than just a collection of scrolls. It was a center of study and debate. Scholars from across the Med and beyond flocked to Alexandria to study subjects ranging from mathematics to astronomy and literature and philosophy. The library's influence extended far beyond its walls, as it fostered an environment where intellectual curiosity and scientific inquiry were encouraged. This environment gave rise to groundbreaking work in fields like geometry, geography, and medicine, laying the foundations for modern science. Number 9. Hattusa. Hattusa, the once majestic capital of the Hittite Empire, stood as one of the most powerful and influential cities of the ancient world. It's located in modern-day Turkey. This city held a crucial place in history, not only as a center of power, but as an example of the architectural advancements of the Hittites. From its monumental walls and grand gates to its temples and mysterious relics, Hattusa symbolized the might of a civilization that rivaled the likes of Egypt, Assyria, and Babylonia. The city's origins trace back to the Hatti, an indigenous people who established Hattusa as a city-state in the 3rd millennium BC. When the Hittites rose to power, they made Hattusa their imperial capital, transforming it into a grand metropolis. The fortifications of the upper city were especially formidable, consisting of a double wall supported by more than 100 towers. The city was accessed through 5 major gates, including the famous Lion Gate and Sphinx Gate, each adorned with intricate carvings that showcased their artistic prowess. The Great Temple, situated in the lower city, was the religious heart of the city and was one of the best preserved structures from the 13th century BC. Dedicated to the storm god, it was surrounded by vast storage rooms and courtyards, reflecting their wealth and importance as a religious center. But one of the most mysterious artifacts of Hattusa is the large green wish stone, a massive rock made of serpentine or nephrite. This unique stone, not native to the region, has puzzled archaeologists for years. Its purpose and origin remain unknown, adding a layer of mystery to this ancient city. Local traditions attribute mystical qualities to the stone, and visitors often marvel at its presence amid the ruins. But Hattusa's decline came swiftly with the fall of the Hittite Empire around the 12th century BC. Abandoned for nearly 400 years, it was later resettled by the Phrygians and continued to be inhabited during the Hellenistic, Roman, and Byzantine periods. However, its days as a center of power had long passed. Number 8. Xian. Xian, formerly known as Chang'an, stands as one of the most influential cities in Chinese history and a vital center of trade and culture along the ancient Silk Road. As the capital of multiple dynasties, Xian not only shaped the political landscape of China, but it also played a pivotal role in connecting East and West, fostering economic, cultural, and intellectual exchange for centuries. Its location in the Yellow River Basin made it the perfect starting point for the Silk Road, the trade route that bridged the great civilizations of China, Persia, India, and the Mediterranean. Xi'an's prominence as a political hub began during the Western Zhou dynasty in the 11th century BCE. Over the centuries, it became the capital of various dynasties including the Qin, Han, and Tang, each of which contributed to its historical legacy. The city's history stretches back even further, with archaeological findings such as the Lantian Man, discovered in southeast of Xi'an, dating back to over 500,000 years ago. Neolithic villages including Banpo provide evidence of Xi'an's ancient human settlements, further illustrating their long-standing importance here. Now, Xi'an's most enduring legacy, however, may be its role as the starting point of the Silk Road. During the Han Dynasty, the city became the gateway for trade between China and the West. Goods, ideas, and cultures flowed in and out of Xi'an, linking China to distant lands as far as Rome, Persia, and India. Caravans laden with silk, spices, precious metals, and other valuable goods made their way westward from Xi'an, while exotic products and ideas such as glassware, horses, and Buddhism spread eastward. The Silk Road made Xi'an a cosmopolitan city, a melting pot of Eastern and Western cultures. Merchants, diplomats, and scholars from all over Asia and the Middle East passed through Xi'an, leaving behind influences that shaped this city's unique character, which laid the groundwork for the city of Xi'an we see today. Moving on to number 7, Nineveh. Nineveh, once the majestic capital of the Neo-Assyrian Empire, was a city of great historical and cultural significance, sitting at the crossroads of ancient Mesopotamian civilizations. It's located on the eastern bank of the Tigris River, within the modern city of Mosul in northern Iraq. Nineveh was not only the largest city in the world for several decades, but also a powerful symbol of the might of the Assyrian Empire. Nineveh's origins can be traced back to the early 2nd millennium BCE, when it was a significant religious center dedicated to the goddess Ishtar. However, its fortunes began to change with the rise of the Assyrian Empire. After being a vassal state under the Hurrian kingdom of Mitanni, Nineveh was captured by the Assyrians, and under the Neo-Assyrian Empire, the city entered a new era. The city's transformation into a powerful metropolis began under King Ashurnasirpal II in the 9th century BCE. However, it was during the reign of Sennacherib, one of Assyria's most famous kings, that Nineveh reached its zenith. Sennacherib made Nineveh the capital of the Neo-Assyrian Empire and initiated an ambitious building project. He laid out new streets, squares, and built the famed Palace Without a Rival, which spanned an impressive 600 by 630 feet and contained at least 80 rooms adorned with sculptures. At its height, the city covered approximately an area of 1,800 acres and was surrounded by a massive city wall that stretched 7.5 miles long and in some places reached a width of over 140 feet. The wall had 15 grand gates, each with a name and a purpose, such as the Negril Gate, adorned with imposing stone bulls, and the Shamash Gate, most impressive of all. Number 6. Memphis. Memphis, the ancient capital of Egypt, was once a powerful metropolis that played a pivotal role in the early history of Egyptian civilization. Founded by Pharaoh Menes during the early dynastic period, Memphis was the first capital of a unified Egypt, bridging Upper and Lower Egypt both politically and geographically. It was situated at the mouth of the Nile Delta, roughly 12 miles from modern-day Cairo. Memphis flourished as the heart of the region. It had trade, commerce, particularly during its golden age in the Old Kingdom. Its importance, however, diminished with the rise of Thebes and other Egyptian cities. Yet the legacy of Memphis remains in the ruins preserved as a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1979. Memphis reached its zenith during the 4th and 6th dynasties when it became the center of political power, religious worship, and cultural achievement in Egypt. During this time, the rulers of Egypt, adorned with the double crown symbolizing the two lands, were coronated in the Temple of Ptah. The city's status as a megalopolis was reflected in its complex network of temples, canals, and even roads, which were connected by various parts of the city and facilitated more trade. Memphis began to experience a decline after the rise of Thebes and the shift of political power to the south. While Memphis remained an important religious and commercial center, it was no longer the seat of the pharaoh's court, and its influence waned. The city saw a brief resurgence under Persian rule when it became the second most important city in the region, but it really never regained its former prominence. Number 5. Constantinople. Constantinople, originally known as Byzantium, emerged as one of the greatest cities in the ancient world. It was strategically positioned at the crossroads of Europe and Asia. Founded in the 7th century BCE, Byzantium was valuable to both the Greeks and Romans due to its location on the European side of the Bosphorus Strait. Recognizing this immense importance, Emperor Constantine, upon reuniting the Roman Empire in 324 CE, chose it as the site of his new capital, which would later become Constantinople. Constantine's decision to relocate the capital to Byzantium was driven by the city's critical position between the two continents and two seas. It bridged Europe and Asia, and with its access to the Mediterranean and Black Sea, it was a prime location for trade and military defense. One of Constantinople's most significant features was the impenetrable fortifications here. The famous Theodosian walls, constructed in the 5th century CE, consisted of a double-walled system, complete with a wide moat and palisades, which made the city nearly invulnerable to attack. The walls stretched approximately 1.2 miles to the west of the original city, reducing the land area that even needed defense. Under Constantine and his successors, Constantinople blossomed into a megacity. The Hagia Sophia, built in the 6th century under Emperor Justinian, became one of the city's crowning achievements, a masterpiece of Byzantine architecture. Constantinople's status as the wealthiest and largest city in Europe from the 4th to the 13th centuries earned it titles such as Queen of Cities and Megalopolis, the Great City. Its vibrant economy, fed by a bustling harbor in the Golden Horn, made it a focal point of the Mediterranean and Black Seas. Goods from across Europe, Asia, and Africa flowed through the city's streets, further enhancing its wealth and its influence. But despite the strength of its walls and its position as a bastion of wealth and culture, Constantinople eventually fell to the Ottoman Empire in 1453. However, the city's importance and influence far outlasted its downfall. For centuries, it remained a symbol of the power and grandeur of the Byzantine Empire, its architectural and cultural achievements leaving an enduring legacy. Number 4. Palmyra. Palmyra, an ancient oasis city in modern Syria, flourished as the capital of the Palmyrene kingdom during the 3rd century AD, becoming a vital crossroads between the east and west. Its location in the Syrian desert, approximately 134 miles northeast of Damascus, made it a key stopping point for caravans traveling between the Roman Empire and the east. It was surrounded by palm trees and nourished by springs. It offered a respite to traders navigating the harsh desert. It was this geographical feature, along with its name, Tadmor, which means palm tree, that highlighted its importance as an oasis settlement. Palmyra's distinct culture resulted from its position at the intersection of these various civilizations. The inhabitants here were ethnically diverse, with influences from the Amorites, Aramaeans, and Arabs. This cultural richness was reflected in its art and social structure. The city's artwork, combined with Greco-Roman styles with indigenous Semitic and Mesopotamian traditions, created a unique artistic identity. Religiously, Palmyra also represented a synthesis of different traditions. The people worshipped a pantheon of gods that included local Semitic deities, as well as gods from the neighboring Mesopotamian and Arab regions. The most prominent of these was Bel, a god whose grand temple dominated the city skyline until its destruction in modern times. During the Roman period, Palmyra enjoyed semi-autonomy, and it thrived as a prosperous city under the Roman Empire's protection. It had strategic value, and it was recognized by Rome. It became a focal point in the defense against the Persian Empire. Its fortune peaked in the 3rd century AD when Queen Zenobia briefly defied Rome by declaring Palmyra's independence, expanding the empire across the Roman East before it was ultimately subdued by Emperor Aurelian. As trade routes changed and the political power shifted, the city's importance waned. However, its impressive ruins, including the iconic Great Colonnade and Temple of Bel, stood as reminders of its former glory. In modern times, it became a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Number 3. Naxos. Naxos, located on the island of Crete, is one of the most renowned ancient cities, serving as the political heart of the Minoan civilization. This sophisticated Bronze Age society flourished between 600 and 1400 BCE, and Naxos, its capital, was both an architectural marvel and a hub of Mediterranean trade. As the center of the Minoan civilization during the early Minoan period, Naxos began to emerge as a cultural powerhouse, fostering trade relationships with Egypt, the Near East, and the Mediterranean. The construction of the first palace here at Naxos around 2000 BCE marked the beginning of the Middle Minoan period, during which the city experienced a cultural renaissance. The palace, built around a central rectangular court, became the administrative and ceremonial heart of the city. Polychrome pottery, elaborate seals, and gold jewelry produced during this time reflected the artistic achievements of the Minoans. The palace also housed ceremonial spaces such as the throne room, which contained a gypsum throne where kings of Naxos are believed to have ruled. The surrounding rooms were used for storage of wheat, oil, and valuable goods, while the workshops and residence formed the other parts of the complex. The Minoans developed a distinctive style of fresco painting, often depicted scenes of nature and sports and rituals. These frescoes were highly naturalistic, capturing the fluidity and vibrancy of life here, and they're considered some of the finest examples of ancient art. The fall of Naxos, though, came around 1400 BCE, likely due to a combination of internal strife, external invasions, and economic collapse. Well, despite its eventual decline, the city's legacy endured, influencing later development of the Greek civilization. Number 2. Persepolis. Persepolis, the grand ceremonial capital of the Achaemenid Persian Empire, stands out as one of the most remarkable architectural sites of the ancient world. Founded by King Darius the Great in 518 BCE, it symbolizes the immense power and wealth of the Persian Empire at its height. Persepolis was intended as a center for governance and a stage for ceremonial events that reflected the empire's dominance over much of Mesopotamia and Asia Minor. Darius the Great chose Persepolis as the new royal capital of his vast empire, though the administrative functions of the empire continued in other cities like Susa and Babylon. The most famous structure within this complex, though, was the Apadana, an immense reception hall used to host foreign dignitaries from all corners of the empire. Intricate bas-reliefs still visible today depict the dignitaries paying tribute to the King of Kings, offering gifts from their religions as a sign of their loyalty. The complex expanded under Darius's successors, particularly his son Xerxes I, who added several key structures, including his own palace, a massive treasury, and the Gate of All Nations, an imposing entrance meant to impress visitors. Though Persepolis was not the largest city in the Achaemenid Empire, it held unparalleled significance as a ceremonial center. It's believed that the city was only seasonally occupied, serving as the site for important events such as the Persian New Year festival, Nowruz. This celebration of renewal, marked by the spring equinox, was a major event in Persian culture, and it likely drew nobles and dignitaries from across the empire. Persepolis' glory, however, was not to last. In 330 BCE, Alexander the Great marched through Persia after his decisive victory over Darius III at the Battle of Gaugamela. He first moved to Susa, which surrendered without resistance, and then he turned his attention to Persepolis. A Persian loyalist named Tiridates sent word to Alexander that forces loyal to Darius III were en route to fortify the city, urging the Macedonian Empire to reach it first. Alexander responded with a forced march, crossing the Araxes River, and reached Persepolis before Persian defenses could be established. In the end, many researchers believe that Persepolis was burnt nearly to the ground, leaving it to antiquity. Number 1. Athens. Athens, the birthplace of democracy and the cradle of Western civilization, was much more than just a city. It was the intellectual and cultural heart of the ancient world. From its rise as a major city-state in the classical period to its homogeny over the Delian League, Athens embodied the ideals of art, philosophy, and politics. Situated in the region of Attica, Greece, this city not only led the ancient world in intellectual pursuits, but also proved its resilience on the battlefield. Even today, the remnants of its golden age stands as symbols of its splendor. The roots of Athens stretch far into prehistory, with evidence of habitation dating back to the Neolithic period, well before 3000 BCE. By the time of the Mycenaean period, Athens had already fortified the Acropolis, its citadel, with massive walls. It's an example of the city's defensive prowess. As the city flourished in the 5th century BCE, Athens rose to unprecedented heights. Its democracy, established in 508 BCE under Cleisthenes, became a defining feature of its governance. The Athenian system of democracy was remarkably stable, and with few interruptions, it lasted for nearly 2 centuries. In addition to its political significance, though, Athens was a beacon of intellectual life. It was home to philosophical giants like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, whose ideas would shape Western thought for millennia. Athens was not only a city of scholars, but also of a fierce military power. While its democratic ideals influenced its governance, Athens didn't shy away from flexing its military might. In 490 BCE, Athens secured its place in history by defeating the Persians at the Battle of Marathon. This victory became a symbol of Athenian strength and resilience. Another fascinating aspect of ancient Athens was its reliance on trade. Due to the poor agricultural potential of its surrounding lands, Athens had to turn to sea trade for its economic survival, primarily through its port at Piraeus. This maritime prowess, combined with its intellectual and cultural dominance, made Athens a true metropolis, a thriving urban center that set the standard for civilization. Obviously, the legacy of Athens endures in modern times, not just in its ruins, but in the political and philosophical foundations it laid for the Western world. The city's achievements during its classical period remain unmatched, and its contributions to governance, art, and thought continue to influence our course through history. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time. Thank you to our channel members.